Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. We are very excited to be here. It's been sort of a long time coming. We're so grateful to have contact with Fran and the alliance with the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District in what is truly like an innovative opportunity to reach out to the senior community in this county. I represent American Medical Response, and we are the ALS ambulance service provider in alliance with the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. I am an EMT, so I run calls, but I have the pleasure of also being our county's community education specialist. So what that means a little bit is I reach out in various different platforms and I present safety, health initiatives, all sorts of different information to the community. That includes our senior community. We've got, of course, the kids. We have really cool programs as related to, addiction and drowning and car seat installations. And a couple of years ago, it dawned on me, which might seem poignantly obvious, but Fran and myself, we were discussing it with Noelle, is the difficulty in accessing face-to-face interactions with you folks, your community, in your homes. And so this meeting is actually innovative in that Rossmore is assisting both the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District and American Medical Response in getting information directly from the providers into your homes, into your hands. And so what is very exciting about this is it has developed a couple of different materials and resource toolkits in addition to the fire home safety survey that Noelle referred to and went over with you that focus on your overall health and well-being. These are being tailored directly to the senior living community. This is the ground level of it, and I wanted to show you some things that we had been working on for years. And then with the information that we're collecting from Rossmore residents, we are planning on deploying these toolkits and resource action items to the entire county. Like Noelle had stated, your participation in both the safety survey and some of the initiatives that you'll see physically on site in Rossmore in hopefully the very near future, your participation in that is vital. We need you. We're talking about your home, your personal safety, and your health and well-being. If that doesn't float your boat, then maybe your coworkers, your friends and family, you are sometimes the eyes in the sky and the boots on the ground. Steve coming in at this time is amazing as well, because the Securitas team are going to be crucial, vital in passing this information out, activating myself and Noelle as needed for situations that we can manage as a team. And I think you all have medical support teams and you potentially have family and communal support teams like Fran, but we're offering these safety and health toolkit resources, and Noelle is the face of the fire side. I am the face of the health side, but they are intertwined, right? And I think it goes back to access. So the really cool toolkit, and pardon the rudimentary, the basics of what I'm about to show you, but we want physical access items to your community members that can truly reflect change and easy to understand things that you can do at home. And whether it's a phone number, an email address, physical content that we need to mail out to you, actual site visits by the Securitas team. Fran has a number of volunteers who are going to be educated on the material that we're talking about, or whether myself and Noelle have to come out and knock on your door, we're coming. And so we hope that in future Golden Rain meetings and EPO meetings that we can continue to just rinse and repeat this information over and over again, because it is so key. So I will show you some of what we're building. Again, these items will be made available to you virtually. They'll be made available to you physically if you need physical pamphlet copies like Noelle had referred to. We can print them, mail them, and hopefully one of these resource toolkits, you guys will start seeing them laying all over the place because we want to just drive a plane by and shoot them out the window with a bazooka. So I'll go ahead and share my screen really quick. The first resource that I want to share with you, this is the Senior Living Health and Safety Action Toolkit resource card. This one is the very quick and dirty version of everything I'm about to show you. So there's a website, it's down at the bottom, amrcoco.com/Gallup. That stands for the Golden Age Life Improvement Program. That's the AMR contribution to this Senior Living Health and Safety Action Toolkit that's being presented to you by the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District and AMR. I'll show you that website in just a second, but you'll see here it's got my email address and then my telephone number. So we are planning on coming to your safety fairs. We are planning on knocking on your doors and dropping off cards, helping assist with those survey completions, and going over some of the tools that I'm about to show you. AMR runs the calls and we are running the calls. I told Fran, we are active in your community. I'm sure you've seen our ambulances driving up and down your streets. The calls that we're running are results of many, many different things, but most of it is things that you, I think, have normalized within your community over time. Some of the struggles you have with durable medical equipment, not understanding how to use it, new prescription medications that you're taking that may or may not have adverse, effects, or certain things like we'll cover very briefly, strokes, but I want to place emphasis on it because people are experiencing these medical emergencies every day. In most cases, 911 is not being called and activated when it should. Of course, I advocate for utilizing 911 early and often if it's appropriate, but what this toolkit is intended for you is to avoid calling 911, to help yourselves and each other to better identify what's going on and have candid conversations, asking for help, but being educated when to ask for help if for some reason some of these tools don't help you help yourself. So as I move forward, I think I want to place emphasis on this is very new. We are continuing to work with both Rossmore and with different organizations within this community. I wish we were live because I'm like a super interactive talker. And so I would love to hear about your experiences, some of the roadblocks that you've had with access to care or in-home assessments or having people come and help you. Because I, about a year ago, tried to start navigating some of the resources that all of us people, these program developers, think are super accessible to you. And I realized it's not accessible. It's confusing. And you have to ask your doctor, and hopefully your doctor is a smart guy and he has lots of networking things and can give you good tools and resources. And then, you'll call somebody and leave a message and nobody calls you back, or your voicemail's not set up. It's just all really confusing. So I spend part of my time navigating through different services in the county and placing all of those resources that seem pertinent and actually active with people answering emails and actually calling you back on this website. So I'll go ahead. This is the card. You can scan it with your smartphone, that QR code on there when the cards are laying around. But for those that don't have smartphones, we've got the website, right? amrcoco.com/Gallup. I'm going to show you the website in just a second. And for those who don't have access to a smartphone or they don't have access to the internet, I want you to call me or I want you to write me an email. We've got packets that we can mail to you live. I'll be preparing those and providing them to your Rossmorian leadership folks on, I hope, every level so that you can have them available if you want to bring them into your homes. And then there's this card. This card is very important because first responders in our county, including law enforcement, are going to start carrying this card. So it's not only a resource toolkit for you, it's a resource toolkit for them. If it doesn't end up resulting in transport, then we've got some things that we can do to help folks. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over now to the website. Okay, so the Golden Age Life Improvement Program. We're offering simple resource information pertinent to senior members of our community. We hope to continue to preserve your independence and autonomy of this group of individuals by making things as straightforward and accessible as possible. This is super baseline. There's links here. What I hope to see in the future is perhaps I need help I like skills for my home, things that I can do in my home, and then maybe break it down to like coalitions and groups that you can join, more of like an external education thing. But I want all of the links that are listed here to be resources that are truly accessible to Contra Costa County citizens and specifically Rossmore. So the first portion of this you'll see is American Medical Response, our Golden Age Life Improvement Program. I'll go over that. We have direct PDF links, which I can show you where you can click on them yourself. If you don't want physical copies, you can see them. There's some videos also posted here. We've got the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, their home safety survey. There's a link to their website. We'll get that survey link directly once Noelle, I think she's got like a Rossmore version of it. And then we've got what'll eventually go out to the whole county. Then there's some website links for your community members, right? So there might be like a Rossmore specific tab here, but when you guys go to this website, I want it to be like boom, boom, very simple. I want to see things that pertain to Rossmore. I want to see things that pertain to strokes. Maybe we'll do it by different content type. I'm not sure yet, but as we develop it and work with you guys navigating this website, I build this so I don't have to go through any red tape. If we've got a good idea, we want to slap it on here. I think it's great. Then we've got all of your Meals on Wheels links. These ones are important because I'll be honest, I like the Meals on Wheels site. A couple of different sites are really great, but it's hard to find them. So what I went through is, of course, their actual website, but then we've got direct links to their meal locator services by zip code. We've got direct links to their fall prevention services. That way, if you're having difficulty navigating their website, and then that requesting an assessment. The link directly there. If you click on that link, it takes you directly to the portion of their website that wants, you're asking for a home safety modification assessment. It's actually an amazing tool to have these things listed right there under what they are. And like I said, the navigation of the page itself, I think is important, and I'm going to be working on it. I didn't know I was going to be a web developer when I started this job, but I sure as heck have turned into one. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the PACE program that's listed here. It's really important to understand PACE because they offer a ton of different services for home modification, healthcare. It's all funded by grants, and Medi-Cal and Medicare are options under this umbrella. So that website, I hope to dig into more and bring with me a couple of presenters on that topic, because AMR, I'm not saying that I am a subject matter expert on all of these things. I don't want to present PACE's program. I don't want to present Meals on Wheels' program, but we can start getting subject matter experts talking to you guys about these things in each of our following meetings. And I want to get direct contact information to them. So that's what I'm advocating for. So that in addition to these tools, you can see their email address and their phone number as clearly as mine on the resource card if you have difficulty navigating. And then I think the last two are very important, or the last one down here. We have adult protective services. That's important both for yourself and for your neighbors and your other loved ones. This form down here is the actual reporting form, which follows all of the instructions. And I think people, I'm not suggesting that we take anyone's anonymity, their independence, their mobility. In fact, this is quite the opposite. And just because you get adult protective services involved, especially in a situation with an individual who's living quietly and silently alone and struggling alone, they can start to connect as a networking tool you to a number of different services. It's not tattling, it's not telling somebody that you've fallen. We know the data. I know that the moment our crew members have to burst into your house and knock your pictures off your wall and pick you up off the floor in the middle of the night, that your rate of decline is rapid. The number of times that you will fall after that is rapid. And by the time we have arrived on scene, you've probably fallen a number of times already. And we go over falls because falls are the physical result of some of the things that I'm going to cover right now and some of the things that Noelle covered. So when we talk about clear entry and egress to your house, when we talk about what you do in the middle of the night, like practicing waking in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or escape from a fire, all of those things we know falls. We talk fall prevention. Why are we doing that? Because there's about 70 million different reasons that cause falls. And some of them are health related. Some of them are physical home modification related, like what kind of shoes you wear or whether or not you're daisy chaining across your living room to run your fan and your air conditioner. So adult protective services sounds like the police. And it's not necessarily like that. If we can't help get you some resources and make them super easily available, they can't. So between myself, Noelle, and Adult Protective Services in this county, and all of the amazing tools that you have within your Rossmore community, I guarantee you that we can get you some help that you need inside of your home, or on your driveway. There's lots of different things that are stopping people from being able to get in and out of their house safely. So that's the website. Again, there's going to be some cool links, and as we move to the bottom, it will be more about aging gracefully and mental wellness, because we know mental decline has a direct impact on physical abilities, right? The second that your brain starts to go, then your well-being goes, then your physical decline is rapid as well. I hope to continue to build this, but the physical version, the walking, talking version of this in your homes, with Securitas and our crews coming in, we just wanted to go over this with you so that you're familiar with it. And then what I'll show you now is the actual material for American Medical Response. Okay, so this is, I would do the class your carpet and get it out of the way. I think it's important. The next one is your fall risk. So this one is, I stole it from somebody else, but I think it's great. And it's similar to what Noelle was talking about, but it's a little bit quicker. And this one is a fall risk assessment. So I have fallen in the past year. So it's a risk assessment. You can go in here and say, I've fallen in the past year, yes or no. This does not have to result. This can just be you slipping out of the chair and bumping your butt on the ground, right? Think the most simple version of that fall. Once people have fallen once, they're likely to fall again, right? If you come through here and you answer these, I use or have been advised to use a cane or walker to get around safely, or I want to say / any durable medical equipment, like a hearing aid or a stair chair or anything. I felt like that question should be more specific. You know, if you're saying yes to any of these, you're fall risk. That's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like it should be like just a well-known thing. Let's pile it up and let's just stare at the reality of it, because unless you say, you know, yes, I have them and yes, I use them, you are not, you know, you might be in that gray area where somebody needs to have a conversation with you, or you guys need to just kind of have a more realistic perspective about what those tools are used for. It's not meant to limit your life. It's not meant to restrict you. It's meant to keep you going longer, right? I steady myself by holding onto furniture when walking at home, or walls, right? Or getting up or sitting down. I'm worried about falling. Some of you are planning your day around falling or not falling. And that's a big deal. When I go to the store, can I park? I don't have a handicap placard, but there's curbs. And using a walker without a handicap placard and having to navigate through some of the obstacles, this world is not built for people who struggle to ambulate or walk, right? Or just be mobile. So when you start looking at the world through a different set of eyes, it is difficult. It's real. I busted my foot, blew it up a couple of years ago, and I had one of those stupid scooter things, like a knee scooter. And I couldn't bear any weight on my bad foot, none at all, right? So it was really cool zipping through the store on the knee scooter, but at some point you're like, wow, this logistically is a nightmare to scoot around. So all of these things on here, I think, give you a different perspective. I have trouble stepping onto a curb. I often have to rush to the toilet. You have to plan for these things. The one that's not in here, I have difficulty getting out of bed, especially if you have issues with your blood pressure, because we like to talk about your blood pressure a lot and how that results in falls. But taking the time, if you know you've got a difficult time getting out of bed, practice it. You know, we'll tell people lay in bed, practice sitting up, giving yourself enough time for the blood to get to your brain, flip your little leggies around and like really give yourself a minute, because you need to kind of anticipate that that's realistic. I have extremely low blood pressure. I personally do. I'm going to be a fall risk when I'm older. I know it. Because if I even right now get up too fast and start acting like I can go running across the room, I get super lightheaded. I have a 7-year-old and I'll lay around on the ground and play with them. And if I try and hop up and answer the door or something like that, you ever get that, whew, like the blood is not quite where it's supposed to be yet. Like that's real. And I just want to like make the physical part of it realistic to you, because you're not alone. Everybody's experiencing it, especially when you have issues with medication. I take medication that sometimes makes me feel lightheaded or more tired than usual. And sometimes there's a big old packet that comes with medication. I don't even read it. I rip the paperwork off and throw it in the trash before I even leave the drugstore. But when you start taking lots of different medications mixed together, and we know this to be true because we're running the calls and we see the medication list, what's new on here? And then you're like, metformin or whatever it is, we know because we see it over and over and over again, but you just took the medication that your doctor said is like, oh, we're going to put you on this. And then they gave you some big packet that nobody ever reads. So it is realistic to know that your medications conflict with each other, and we want to walk you through that process. Maybe not all of them, but just be aware of it, that if you're feeling kind of funky, that might be why, right? So that's the risk assessment portion of it. I want to talk about strokes, because strokes look so common, and I have no idea how much time I have. So I'm going to go through this really quick and then come back to it. There's a video here that's 5 minutes and I might skip through it. There's informational material. You or your loved ones or your neighbors are having strokes. Strokes do not result in you being hospitalized and not being able to function, but they can. And cognitive mental deficits, as well as ability to function independently, are affected over time by strokes, right? You can be having multiple strokes and not even know it. So my dad personally, he struggled with diabetes. We didn't know he was a diabetic. And he started having strokes as a result of his unattended blood sugar. So he was not taking care of his blood sugar levels, and he was having strokes and we didn't know it. By the time he had a massive stroke, so we're talking about like how many he had leading up to it. By the time he had a massive stroke and we ended up taking him to John Muir, we called 911, our crews transported him, and they hooked him up and ran all the tests and gave him the what's wrong with this picture kind of question. They estimated that he was having somewhere between 2 and 3 strokes a day for like the last month. So you start looking at what that means to your brain, and over time, it just kills part of your brain, right? So that's what's happening to strokes, and that's why we want to get to you as fast as we can. And it doesn't matter if you're not a stroke activation. We don't care if we show up and we assess you and it's not a stroke. Maybe you're just feeling lethargic that day. But I want to show you the video because there's a moment where somebody intervenes in this. And you can be talking to your friends, you could be meeting for coffee or pinochle or whatever your jam is, and you notice that somebody's a little off, right? It's really important to activate that resource as soon as possible and get 911 in the system, whether it be Securitas or somebody that cares, because we want to get out there and start identifying the stroke and treating it like ASAP, because the faster we can get to it, we can stop it, right? So there are some warning signs. I've got little cards that will also be distributed in the physical packet, so you know a little bit more like that, but the video is super valuable. So we're going to get to that because there's actually an actress who's playing out the stroke, and I'm telling you, it's exactly what it looks like, and she's extremely critical. So when we get to the video, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's some warning signs. Some of the things that come up before the stroke, right? So these are symptoms before the facial drooping and the arms and the speech and stuff. We've got some sudden trouble walking, dizziness, loss of balance or coordination. Again, can be nothing, no big deal, but let us deal with it. Sudden severe headache. Ooh, your head hurts bad. If you're noticing that somebody is like not even, maybe they're speaking clearly, but their sentences orange, have a cat that is like, there's random words that are placed that don't make any sense or something like that, that's a pretty good indicator that something is going on, right? And then sudden weakness, that one's common, but a lot of people feel weakness anyway, so that one's difficult. We got questions to ask after a stroke. So, oh my gosh, I feel like maybe I just had one, or maybe somebody is, and there's videos online, maybe Joni just had one. You can start asking these questions. And if you're talking to a provider in particular, these are questions that you should be asking, right? What kind of treatment? What are your options? How effective? Because if you've had one stroke, it's very likely without treatment, you're going to have another one. So we definitely want to talk about that. Will I be able to enjoy the same quality of life I had before the stroke? Remember, people live with strokes all the time. They can actively have them. It's how they're managed and how quickly they go, oh, this could be possibly a stroke, right? You can even see people that are starting to become more aware of the fact that they're having it the same way that I get up too fast. I feel faint, like I know I need to sit down and I need to like do my thing, right? So strokes are realistic. It's something everybody struggles with, and you just have to ask the right questions and be informed. So there's questions about, are there foods you need to avoid? It's just a really great list because you want to walk out and you can print this up and literally write notes right next to it. If you're concerned about it, you can even talk to your doctor, like, am I a stroke risk? Maybe that's not a question that you've had with them. And, they might tell you yes. So these are really great things that you might be able to help out with. This is the vial of life. And I just want to say for everybody there and for whoever's paying attention at Rossmore, if you do nothing else, please call or email me to get 27 million copies of this vial of life for you and everybody on your street. Just drive them around and shove them in people's mailboxes. There's a PDF link there. So again, if you go to that amrcoco.com/Gallup, the link is there and I'll go back to it. So you can print one yourself, but this is an unofficial EMS and first responder tool. When we see these, we know that they're accurate normally. You would print this and you'd leave it pretty much anywhere, but mostly you post it on your fridge. If we see a vial of life, we know whether or not you have a DNR. We know what your current medications, what your treatments are. This one was recently revised, so it's definitely, you can write a lot bigger. There's a lot more space. There's various different providers that offer these. You might be able to get one from your hospital or your primary care provider too, if you don't like the logo on this one. They're not uncommon. This is just the one that AMR puts out there, right? So we'll mail you packets and packets of these. I am a almost 40-year-old female, turned 40 on December 19th, and I have a 7-year-old. I have no major medical conditions, but I have vials of life on my fridge, because if my 7-year-old were at home and I tripped and fell and they needed to know my age, if I had insurance, if minimum all you do is fill out the left side, that helps us. If you have emergency contact information of who you need to know, even if it's your neighbor, we will call them on a cell phone while we're en route to the hospital. This is very important information for us, and we've made these phone calls multiple times. So please print out the vials of life and use that tool and give one to a friend, because it's super helpful. The video I want to go over. So I'm going to go back on this one because I want you guys to watch the video, and I might pause it in the middle. But again, the stroke thing, it can be caused by lots of things. It can be caused by medication, diet change, exercise, lack thereof, lots of different issues. And they'll kind of go over it and show you what it looks like.
Carol, I heard you yell out for some help.
Yeah.
So, listen, can you tell me what's going on?
I don't feel good.
You don't feel good?
No, my head hurts, my neck. I just, I don't feel good.
I see your remote down here. Did you drop it?
Yeah, I was trying to change the channel.
Can you do something for me?
Right.
Can you smile at me a second? A big smile. Okay, good. Listen, I'm going to hold your arms up here a moment. I don't want you to let them drop. Just hold them both even. Okay, good. You can rest your arms again. Can you say, I love my husband more than anybody?
I love.
Okay, good. That's good. That's good. What time do you think this started? Was it recently? Was it a long time ago? Just nod your head up or down if it is recently. Okay. Carol, I don't want to alarm you, but I think you're showing enough symptoms that we should suspect something serious, and we should call for help and get an ambulance on the way. The hospital can certainly help you, but you're having enough signs and symptoms that I'm concerned it could be a stroke.
I just want to point out here is that there is no natural recovery from a stroke. What's happening in her brain right now is something that needs to be treated in a STEMI center, like a receiving STEMI center. And the treatment that happens after that, it's not like a bruise where your body is overall going to heal from it. The damage that's done, neurologically is irreversible. So when he's saying the hospital can help you, don't think, oh, I'll just wait it out. Things will be better when I feel better. Even when the stroke is over, the damage is irreversible. So what he's saying is key.
Not that I'm for sure, but I know that at the hospital they can take better care of you there than here in your home. Listen, I think we're going to give the ambulance a call, and then if it's nothing, you've bought yourself some peace of mind, okay? A stroke has been...
So I'm fast forwarding it now. He's going to give you a brief description of what it is in much better terms than I can.
Been said to be like a heart attack, but in the brain. And the reason that analogy works is because we know more about what causes strokes. And most of the time, and in many cases, the reason they're having a stroke is very similar to the reasons we have a heart attack. Something has dislodged and blocked a vessel in the brain and is now starving that brain tissue of oxygenated blood, which is now beginning to show effects neurologically in the patient's body. Now, it can also be caused from a breakage or a bursting of the blood vessel. A hemorrhagic stroke is normally caused from an aneurysm and is treated differently than we treat stroke.
I just want to point out too, a hemorrhagic stroke is very rare. I don't know if you've ever heard of those before, but the more common one is the blockage. And so that blockage, if it stays there, the tissue just begins to die, the brain tissue and, all of those cells around it. So it's pretty important if you held your breath that eventually you would die, right? We're trying to get you to where it needs to go so they can clear that and get oxygenated blood to your brain in that area before, any irreversible damage.
From a blockage of a blood clot or a fatty clot. Let's talk about FAST. The acronym FAST is a way for us to be able to check systematically if a patient is showing enough signs and symptoms that we should be concerned that they might be suffering from a stroke, and then activate emergency medical services.
So I won't go through the whole FAST video as he goes through the breakdown, because we've got the cards and the resources tools to you. Did you see what he did at the beginning with her, where he was having that conversation? He asked if she could smile. You could ask anybody any kind of question. When he said, I love my husband very much, the question is whether or not she could verbally articulate things back to him. And then when it got to the point where she was even unable to say the words yes or no, and she had to barely nod in order to understand what he was, or to communicate with him, it's a pretty clear indicator that she was really rough. And I just want to say, it looked pretty normal. I don't know if when you're talking to someone that's like that, it's hard to navigate, like if they're tired or if they had taken their medications that morning, or, it's when all of them are happening at the same time. So we just want to place emphasis again on calling us earlier, activating your security teams, whoever you need to. We would more than happily, and I'm sure Steve and Penny and Fran and anybody that works out there would agree with me when we say we'd rather come out there and have a conversation with you about something before it was a problem than in that moment where it's, going to change your life forever, or potentially that you could pass away from or die from. And that's where we get back to the toolkit and the website. So I just want to place emphasis again on what you guys will see around Rossmore, and that's the Senior Living Health and Safety Action Toolkit with my email and my phone number. When you go to Contra Costa County Fire Protection District's website, Noelle's information is there as well, and I'm probably going to piss her off or tick her off and post it on my website. So you guys have direct access to it, but we hope to continue to present this information to you in the future in various different ways. We will come into your home and educate you on it. If for some reason you can't, make it to one of your EPO events or the safety fair, if you are coming to the safety fair, we'll see you on Saturday with maybe some more of this information. But I think I pretty much wrapped it up. There's always so much more. I'm sure Noelle can relate to it, that our brains are like, but I hope that covers things for you. I hope we can continue to add stuff to this. Please let me know if you've got questions or tools or obstacles. You've got my contact information. It's great. Thank you for having us.